Assalamu alaikum. Um, Good evening. This is course Math 103B and Math 103. Today we are going to start discussing non-linear equations. This is chapter 2, non-linear equations. Uh, as you see, chapter 2, non-linear equations. We'll go directly to quadratic function. Quadratic function, sometimes we call it quadratic function, and sometimes you can see it as second degree equations. Second degree equations. Second degree. Why second degree? Because simply the highest degree of x is 2. So either we call it quadratic functions or second degree function or second degree equation. We are talking about function which has x to the power 2. So either we call it second or we call it quadratic function. Okay, let's say for this chapter, what are we going to do? First, we are going to write the general form of any quadratic equation. Then after that, we will start thinking how to solve the quadratic equation. We will use two approaches or two methods. The first one, solving quadratic equation by using factoring, and the second one by using formula, quadratic formula. So this is the first thing we are going to do in this chapter. But this is a very large part of the chapter, solving second degree equation. I may even divide this part into two parts. Part number one and part number two. Part number one, I'm going to discuss how to solve quadratic equation by factoring, and in part number two, we will discuss how to solve quadratic equation by using quadratic formula. After we finish solving quadratic equation, we will learn how to sketch the quadratic function, and the last things we are going to do in this section, quadratic function 2.1, is we will have application on this quadratic function. We will have the model of profit, revenue, and cost by using quadratic model. So let's start. Welcome on board. Definition of quadratic function. Now, any quadratic function, it takes this form: ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. Now, in each quadratic function, you will find x squared, certainly. You may find x, and you may find c. So, certainly, we should have this part, quadratic function. We may have this part, or we may not have it. We may have this part, or we may not have it. This means that the value of a, which is the coefficient of x squared, the value of b, coefficient of x, and c is called constant, not coefficient. So a, it's a coefficient of x squared. B, it is the coefficient of x. C, it is constant. Now a, b, c, all of them are real numbers. Well, there is no condition for the value of these three numbers, except for a. A shouldn't equal to 0. Why a shouldn't equal to 0? Because if I said a equal to 0, this means that I am eliminating this part of the equation. And if you eliminate this part of the equation, then this equation is no longer a quadratic equation. It becomes linear equation, bx plus c equals to 0. So the only condition that we have in this equation is a shouldn't equal to 0. Okay? Now, again, this is the general form. If I take a look at this general form, I will see that the right-hand side equals to 0. So all variables, all the terms that have variables or constant, all of them are lying at the left-hand side, while the right-hand side should equals to 0. So two things we have to remember. First of all, you have to make sure that the right-hand side equals to 0. This is the general form of any quadratic function, the right hand side should equal to 0, and also a, the coefficient of x squared, it is not allowed to be 0. Okay, so this is the general form. Those are the conditions. A should not equal to 0, and I have to make sure that the right hand side just have 0. The right hand side just has 0. Okay, or no? Let's proceed. Take step ahead. Well, this is the general form. I can write many examples of quadratic function. Let's say I can say that 2x squared minus 3x plus 4 equals to 0. A equals to 2, this is A. B equals to minus 3, this is B. And C equals to 4. So A equals to 2, B equals to minus 3, C equals to 4. Okay, let's have another example. What if I have minus 3x squared minus or plus x and minus 5? A equal to minus 3, B equals 1, even there is no number 1, but this is just 1x, so B equals to 1, and C, it is minus 5. So A minus 3, B equals 1, and C equals minus 5. Another example, what if I have 2x squared minus 10 equals to 0? A equals to 2. Where is B? Where is x? Well, x does not show up. This means that the coefficient of x equals to 0. So this is A equals to 2, B equals to 0, and C equals to minus 10. Just remember this, when you don't have x or you don't have number, this means that either B equals to 0 or C equals to 0. The last example, what if I have 3x squared minus 2x equals to 0? Then A equals to 3, B equals to minus 2. Where is C? Where is the constant? It's not there, so C equals to 0. Okay, so now let's go step ahead. I want to solve quadratic function. Well, here we are starting with a very simple quadratic function. Well, I'm going to solve first by factoring. Anyone remember what do I mean by factoring? If you remember factoring, it is the process of writing the algebraic expression as a product of two or more brackets. So this bracket should be multiplied or written or expressed as a multiplying or a product of one bracket multiplied by another bracket, or one term multiplied by a bracket. Sometimes I have three brackets, so I said two brackets or more. Well, here x squared minus 25. How can I factor x squared minus 25? Well, if you remember, x squared minus 25, this is very special expression. Why? Because x squared is squared, 25 also 25 is squared. So this expression can be written as x squared minus 5 squared, because 25 it is a full square, it is 5 squared. So x squared minus 5 squared, this is x minus 5, x plus 5. So when I said x minus 5, x plus 5 equals to 0, what does that mean? Now I have a product of two brackets equals to 0. X minus 5 times x plus 5 equals to 0. Well, a product of two numbers equals to 0. Well, I'm asking you this question. Can you find any two numbers multiplied by each other and the result equal to 0, but neither the first one nor the second one equals to 0? Just think about this. Take this as challenge. Well, think about two numbers, two non-zero numbers. The product of those two non-zero numbers equals to 0. Can I have a situation like this? Well, take your time. finally, you will find that you will never find a case like this. So when we have a product of two brackets, a product of two numbers, and the result equals to 0, so certainly either the first one equals to 0 or the second one equals to 0. So when you have a product of two brackets, a product of two numbers, and the result of this multiplication equals to 0, so either the first one equals to 0 or the second one equals to 0. So I'm going to write like this: either x minus 5 equals to 0. So just shift minus 5 to the right. So the first solution, x equals to 5, and this is the first solution, or x plus 5 equals to 0. Shift 5 to the right hand side, then x equals to minus 5. So as you see, I have two solutions. In general, any quadratic function has two solutions, not just one solution, two solutions. In general, I said in general, for any quadratic function, you have two solutions. We will have some special cases in which there is just one solution, and we'll have some special cases there will be no solutions. So I said maximum two solutions. Sometimes I have just one solution, and sometimes no solution. Okay. As you see, either x minus 5 equals to 0, then x equals to 5, or x plus 5 equals to 0, x minus 5. It's very important to write or, very important. Now, the solution set, as you see, I have two solutions, either minus 5 or plus 5. Another question, again, solving by factoring. By factoring, I have x squared minus 11x plus 24. X squared minus 11x plus 24. How can I factor this expression? I said, well, this expression will be written as a product of two brackets, and it equals to 0. Now, x squared, it can be written as x times x. This is the only solution, or the only option, if we are choose to select integers, like option of x in both brackets is integer. So you have just one choice, x times x. Now let's go to 24, the other side here in the bracket. Well, here 24, I'm looking for two numbers. This is the question that you have to ask yourself. I'm looking for two numbers. When you multiply them, you get 24. And when you add them, you get 11. Forget the minus sign for a moment. Forget the minus sign. So what is the question here? I'm looking for two numbers. When you multiply them, you get 24, and when you add them, you get 11. How can I get 24? It could be 12 times 2, but 12 times 2 does not equal to 11, so forget it. It could be 12 and 2. We said no, it's not true. It could be 6 and 4. 6 and 4. 6 times 4 equals 24, but when you add 6 plus 4, it doesn't give you 11, so forget it. So it's neither 12 times 2 nor 6 times 4. What other options do I have? I have 8 times 3. Yes, 8 times 3. 8 times 3, it's a 24. 8 plus 3, it is 11. So certainly one of them will be 8 and the other, it is 3. Now, what is the operation here? Is it plus, plus, minus, minus, plus, minus, minus, minus? As you see, I have four options. Just to remind you, we discussed this when we studied factorization in detail, but just this is a refreshment of your information. Well, in order to determine what do I have in each bracket, plus or minus, we'll go first to the last term. The last term is plus or positive. Now, positive, it can be given when you multiply positive times positive, or negative times negative. So when you have positive at the last term, so either inside the two brackets, either plus plus or minus minus. So the two brackets will be similar. Either both brackets will be plus plus or the two brackets will be minus minus. So I'm going to select what options. Am I going to select plus plus or minus minus? Well, what does tell you what to select? Is it plus plus or minus minus? It is the sign of the middle term. What is the sign of the middle term? It is minus. So both will be minus. Neglect the plus and it will be minus. So x squared minus 11x plus 24 is factorized as x minus 8 times x minus 3. So again, this expression equal to x minus 8, x minus 3. Again, x minus 8, x minus 3 equals to 0. So either the first one equals to 0 or the second one equals to 0. Either x minus 8 equals to 0, so x equals to 8, and this is the first solution, or x minus 3 equals 0, so x equals to 3. So those are solutions that I have. The solution set will be 3 and 8. Let me just erase all of this. Okay. What about this? X squared plus 16 equals to 0. X squared plus 16 equals to 0. Well, if you just take a look at x squared plus 16, I'm saying that I have two numbers, x times x, or number. You are going to square this number, and then you are going to add a positive number, 16, and still the value equals to 0. Well, it does not make sense. Why? Because you are adding something positive, because x squared will be positive, and you add positive to another positive and you get 0. This is a false statement or contradiction, or it does not make sense. It is not sense. It does not make sense. Adding two positive number equals to 0, it's not accepted, and mathematically this is wrong. So if you have something like this, x squared plus any number, it doesn't necessary to be 16. X squared plus 1, x squared plus 2, x squared plus 5, x squared plus 16, x squared plus 20, x squared plus any number. So I can say that x squared plus k equals to 0, then there is no solution. No solution. No solution. So there's no solution, or you can write that the solution set is 5, empty set. So when we have x squared plus k equal to 0, then there is no solution. Well, I think we will go to this now. Before we go to this, I'm going to explain. I'm going to add one more question, very simple question. What if I have x squared minus 3x equals to 0? How can I solve a problem like this? Well, again, by using factorization, just ask yourself, is there any common factor between the first and the second one? Yes, the first term, the second term, the common factor is x. If you take x as a common factor, what is left? X minus 3. So when you have x squared minus 3x can be written as x times x minus 3. Again, two numbers multiplied by each other and the value equal to 0, then either the first one equal to 0, and this is the first solution, x equals to 0, or x minus 3 equals to 0, then x equals to 3. So this is the second solution. So either x equals to 0 or x equals to 3. I'm going to keep this extra example just to remember this example. Okay. Now, I have this question. Solve x squared plus 4 squared equals to 36. Well, I'm going to solve this problem in 3 different approaches. Let's start with this approach that is written and explained here in this presentation. Well, x squared plus 4 square, x plus 4 all square equals 36. We said the first thing you have to do is to make sure that the right hand side equals to 0. So it's very simple, just shift 36 from right to left, then it will be x plus 4 square minus 36 equals to 0. Note that 36 is also a full square. It is 6 square. So I can rewrite it as x plus 4 whole square minus 6 square. So now I have difference between two squares. The first square is the bracket and the second square is 6. So I can rewrite this as the first one plus the second one times the first one minus the second one. The first one is x plus 4 plus the second one is 6 multiplied by the first one is x plus 4 minus the second one is 6. So it will be x plus 4 plus 6 multiplied by x plus 4 minus 6. Now x plus 4 plus 6, this is x plus 10. And x plus 4 minus 6, 4 minus 6 minus 2, so it is x minus 2. So again, x plus 4 squared minus 36 equals x plus 4, or can be factorized as x plus 10 times x minus 2 equals to 0. Then again, we'll follow the same approach, either x plus 10 equals to 10. So 0, then x equals minus 10, or x minus 2 equals to 0, then x equals to 2, and the solution set is minus 2 and minus 10 and 2. This is the first approach. I'm going to solve this problem in two more approaches. This is the first approach. We shifted 36 from right to left, and then we have difference between two squares, and then we write this difference between two squares as product of two squares. This is the first one. Let me just write the second one. I'll write the same problem and solve it in a different way. We said that x plus 4 whole square equals to 36. Well, what if I take the square root of both sides? Okay, I'm solving this problem, but I can say that it is by factorization. It is just solving a quadratic equation. Now, if you take square root of both sides, then the left-hand side, the square root, the radical sign, the radical function is inverse square of the inverse function of the square. So 2 and radical sign is eliminated or is eliminating each other. So at the left-hand side equal x plus 4. At the right-hand side, square root of 36, it is either plus 6 or minus 6. So I'm going to take both options. So I'm going to say either x plus 4 equals to 6. This means that x equals 6 minus 4 and x equals to 2. This is the first solution. See, we have the same solution. Or I may say x plus 4 equals minus 6. Then x equals minus 6 minus 4. So finally, x equals to minus 10. And this is the second question, or second approach, a second solution. And this is the second approach. It is simply taking square root of both sides. And don't forget that the square root or square root of 36 is plus and minus 6. It is not just this plus 6. Plus 6 times plus 6 is 36, and minus 6 times minus 6, it is 36. I'll keep this approach. Again, I have another approach, third approach. It will be a little bit a longer one, x plus 4 square minus or equals to 36. What if we wanted to expand x plus 4 square? X plus 4 square, it is x plus 4 times x plus 4 equals to 36. anyway, equals 36. If you multiply this, we learned how to multiply them. You will find that this is x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals to 36. This is a quadratic equation. Just shift 36 to the left hand side to make the right hand side equal to 0. Then you will have x squared plus 8x plus 16 minus 36 equals to 0. Now simplify more, x squared plus 8x minus 20 equals to 0. Try to factorize this simplification. You will find that this is x and this is x. Looking for two numbers, when you multiply them you get 20, and when you subtract them you get 8. So certainly I'm talking about 10 and 2, and because this is the last term is minus, so the sign inside the two brackets will be different. One of them is plus and the other will be minus, and the sign of the middle term will be given to the largest number. So this is x plus 10, x minus 2, and then you will say that two brackets multiply product of two brackets equals to 0. So either x plus 10 equals to 0, then x equals to minus 10. This is the first one, or x minus 2 equals to 0, then x equals to 2, and this is the second solution. As you see, the different approach, but in each approach we find that x equals minus 10, and the second solution is x equals to 2. Okay, I'll stop here, and next video we will discuss how to solve quadratic equation by using quadratic formula. I'll stop here, and I would like to say goodbye. Before I say goodbye, please take care about yourself, be careful, stay home, take care about yourself and your family. في أمان الله.